Hello everyone and welcome back to another weather update. And tonight we're actually going to be focusing on the tropics instead of the severe weather that I usually cover and look at. But tonight we're going to be mainly looking at the tropics because there has been a general increase in most of the models that there might be something that could potentially form as we get into possibly later this coming week and maybe into next weekend. And that's really what we're going to try to look at and break down tonight. So let's go ahead and get started. So first, looking at the GFS, the American model here, we're going to go to starting off early this week on this coming Tuesday. And as you can see, we have a lot of moisture down here into the Gulf and into pretty much most of the western Atlantic here, into the Caribbean as well. And then as you go into the middle of this coming week on Wednesday the 12th, as you can see, we have quite a few storms down here, and you have a just very moist air mass, especially right here in the Gulf, obviously. But still looking here, you just have that moisture that lingers there, and this is what we're going to be kind of watching. And currently, as I'm recording this video, the National Hurricane Center does not have any areas of interest that they've highlighted yet. So we're going to keep checking back on the National Hurricane Center for that. But still looking here into the Gulf and the Caribbean here, we do have kind of a low pressure right here that does try to show up late this coming week on Friday. And you'll have to watch that too. And you especially have all those storms and that all that moisture there into parts of the Gulf and Florida, as well as even into Cuba as well there. And we're just gonna have to watch this as we get into late this coming week, and then even maybe into the weekend, and see how this plays out. And really, the GFS shows moisture just staying down into the Gulf and those storms there all the way into this coming weekend, so it'll definitely be something to monitor. Now looking at the European model here, so we're going to go to Tuesday on the 11th of June here. Still same thing showing up here, a lot of moisture and storms. And then still going into the middle of this coming week on Wednesday, still have those storms in relatively the same location. And really what the European shows here is those storms really linger and stay into the eastern Gulf and then over parts of western Cuba there. And really they stay over there, and then it looks like they'll kind of getting more widespread, you could say, into parts of the area. But really looking kind of now into tomorrow on Sunday, you really don't have too much going on. But still, as you go later into the week, you have that moisture that begins to pop up, and especially over Florida, where you may have maybe a flooding threat with some of these storms that kind of linger over the area. And then going into late this coming week on Friday, you still have that moisture there, and the European model does show it a little bit farther west, and this would bring rain more to the southeast states and the panhandle as well, but still quite a bit of moisture and those quite a bit of rainfall into parts of Florida. But we'll watch these and see how the models continue to play out. Now looking at our relative humidity values, and this is from the 700 to 300 millibar heights here. And so the 700 millibar level in the atmosphere is kind of towards the top of the low levels of the atmosphere, and the 300 millibar height is pretty high into the atmosphere here. So really, when you're looking at these relative humidity values, you really look for this when you're looking at tropical waves and stuff, and just any tropical development, because you need high relative humidity values for those storms and those disturbances to get going and to have any sort of circulation. And so if you have dry, so right here is our drier air, and this is our more moist air here with our higher relative humidity values. And so when you have that drier air that gets into these storms, they do not do well, and they really weaken quite a bit. They still can keep going with these drier relative humidity values and the drier air, but they really do like that moisture, and the more moisture you have, really the better those storms will do. So looking here at our relative humidity values on the 0Z GFS here, especially into parts of the far eastern Gulf of Mexico here, as you go farther into late this week into this weekend, it does spike quite a bit here into the extreme far eastern Gulf of Mexico off of the west coast of Florida here, and then even looking into parts of Cuba into the Caribbean, quite a bit. You have high relative humidity values there, so that'll be something to watch. And then even looking out here into parts of the western Atlantic and off of the east coast of Florida, you have pretty high relative humidity values there as well, and this will be something to continue to monitor as we've been looking at as you get into late this week into this coming weekend. Now looking at the 12Z European here for our relative humidity values. So the European does not have those the high relative humidity values that far to the east as the GFS did, but it does show your higher relative humidity values a little bit farther to the west and more into parts of the southeast here. And then really you have this quite a large spot of those high relative humidity values. And so again, as I've been saying, you'll have to watch that, and if anything can develop here, it will have a decent amount of relative humidity values to work with, but you do have quite a bit of drier air to the west and to the western Gulf of Mexico that it would have to deal with. So that is a good thing, though. Definitely do not want a lot of high relative humidity values, especially where storms can develop and further strengthen. Now looking at our 500 millibar winds into the Gulf of Mexico. And so really when you look for any development in these storms, you actually look for troughs as you do with any other like mid-latitude cyclone, and just with other troughs and maybe shortwave troughs, you would look for that in the 500 millibar levels. But then when you go to your tropical weather and more of the tropical development, you look for troughs still, but there are going to be inverted. And what I mean by inverted is they will be facing towards the north and amplifying towards the north, instead of as you would have with your traditional trough that would amplify as it goes to the south, and then it would be to the U shape. And then with your inverted troughs, they would be more of an N shape and amplify the north end of that trough. So looking here, you do have a little bit of a inverted trough that kind of shows up into Saturday on the 0Z GFS. And then still going, you still do have a little bit of a trough here that you'll have to watch, and this will be for our potential development. And that's really, you can see here quite a bit better that trough, and you can see those winds, how they curve right there. And then right here would be our possible low pressure on the 0Z GFS there. So I was just going to explain that real quick so y'all could kind of get a better idea of what that may look like. And so really you're just taking this as if this would happen, but it's still pretty far out, pretty much a week out. So do not take this as this is going to happen. Just say if this were to happen right here, your center of circulation would roughly be kind of in this area here, and then as you can see, those winds curve right there. But still, this is just more guidance so we can take a look at what may be to come in the future. Now looking at the GEFS ensemble, which is the mean of several models, and it takes into consideration quite a few models here and kind of gives us a idea of where any development might be. So going into late this week, into Thursday and Friday, and even into kind of this weekend here, there is a signal here into parts of southern Florida, even to the north of Cuba. So definitely a signal here for something that could develop, but we'll just have to watch it. It isn't a strong signal, but it is there, and we'll have to keep watching this. Now looking at the European ensemble, which is the EPS, kind of a similar thing here, but it does have that signal more towards the central Gulf of Mexico, and then eventually into the western Gulf of Mexico as you get into next weekend. So still something to watch, and you do have definitely some differences between the European model and the GFS model. Now looking at our sea surface temperature anomalies and looking here into mainly just the Gulf right here. Throughout most of the Gulf, really, right here, you have above average temperatures than what is normally here into the Gulf, and in some spots you may have temperatures maybe even reaching 1 to 2 degrees above average for these areas this time of year. And this analysis was on the 8th, on Saturday around midday. So now looking at our sea surface temperatures, this was analyzed at around midday on June the 8th on Saturday. And so as you look here, you have your sea surface temperatures. This is in Celsius, and you have these sea surface temperatures into the lower 80s, into really a little bit over 82 degrees Fahrenheit, into a little bit over 84 degrees Fahrenheit, and then even 86 degrees Fahrenheit in this spot right here, into a spot of the eastern Gulf of Mexico. And then anything really above 79 degrees Fahrenheit will be really able to develop anything, and anything really below 79 degrees to 80 degrees will not be able to develop any sort of system, as well as anything above 79 degrees or 80 degrees. Looking at the GEFS, and we're looking at all of our possible precipitation across parts of, mainly just looking at Florida right now. And so we'll go to, we're on the 18Z GEFS model right now, and we'll go to 18Z Saturday, June the 15th, which is about midday on Saturday. And looking throughout most of Florida, you do have quite a bit of rain showing up here, and this is the average of quite a few models, and this is just put together to kind of show an average, but you do have a strong signal for rain across South Florida, even into the Keys here. And I mean, you have rain totals well over 6 inches there, and definitely this will be something to watch as you have those storms that move up into the Gulf and over Cuba as you get into late this week into this coming weekend. Same thing here, looking at the EPS ensemble, which is the European ensemble here, and looking at our quantitative precipitation, which we were just looking at. Kind of the same thing here, and does show quite a bit of rainfall here, especially over parts of southwestern Florida, well over 5 inches there, and even into parts of southwest and western Florida, over 6 inches possible there. And so this is definitely a signal. This don't take this as this is going to be the exact amount of rain that'll fall in these areas, but this is definitely a signal for those storms that'll come through here, and will definitely drop quite a bit of rain into Florida, and as well as even Cuba. So that's going to be it for tonight's video. I know it was quite a bit different from what I usually do, but I do appreciate all of y'all watching, and really the reason I did this for update and forecast really is because it's been talked about really a lot in the weather community, so I thought I would kind of make an update on it and show y'all what some of the main stuff that I've been looking at, and definitely will be something to watch as we get into this late this week into early this coming weekend. And obviously it'll definitely be something to continue to monitor, as we're definitely going to have an above average hurricane season. So that's just really the main reason I made this video. But I know it's pretty messy, honestly, because I'm not used to doing really tropical updates. But I think I'm going to continue to do severe weather updates, and I'll put together a tropical update maybe towards the beginning of the video, and or maybe even at the end. But I'll continue to do severe weather updates, and then if I have time, we'll look at the tropics, and definitely we'll be taking more of a look at it, depending on if we do have any systems that do form. That'll definitely be a kind of a thing to watch as we get into late this week. So that'll be it for this update, and I do appreciate all of y'all watching, and I hope everybody is having a great Saturday night or Sunday morning whenever y'all are watching.